everyone. The room is locked and Michelle and I are now live. Hey, Michelle, thanks for joining me tonight.
Hey, Angel. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. So, hey, everyone, Angel again, Live Well Wednesday. It's our Wednesday night when we get together and have conversations about wellness, and we try to make really chill, raw, relevant, and just lay back. So before we get started, a couple of things happened this past week that I'm super excited about and I want to share with you. First is, you may have seen that after, goodness, probably 6 to 8 months, I've launched my website, my Love Across brand. So myloveacross.com is live. Please check it out. There's stuff on there about this Live Well Wednesday. There's stuff about healing bracelets, my blog, just a really good site for all of us to come together and just give wellness to the world. So that was super excited. I'm really happy that that launched. Thank you, thank you. Other thing is last week we had myself as a special guest and we talked about autoimmune disease and I had such a great response afterwards. Thank you all so much. We probably put together 25 different autoimmune diseases that just my followers have dealt with or had in their family. So because of that, I have decided I'm going to put together an FAQ page, and every autoimmune disease, I'm going to list some support, some people you can reach out to, and just different things that I have been able to get the past couple of months. So that's coming soon for all of you out there with these autoimmune diseases that, like I said last time, we all seem to have one. So I think that's going to be pretty awesome to be able to do that. So look forward to you guys reaching out and kind of looking at the FAQ page. I will put that for everyone. So let's get to why we're here. Michelle Weston is the owner, founder of 8th House Siren, and she's also an astrologer, which is super cool. We talked, gosh, when was it? Like around Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
To have you come on?
Or was it
Christmas? One of those holidays. So I've been like really excited to have you come on because I had a birth chart reading and it just blew me away. So I'm like, I have to share what you're doing with everyone. And I'm really excited about that. So definitely we're going to kind of jump into, you know, how you got started, what you're doing. But I also wanted to start off to let everyone know that those of you who are watching now and up until this time next week, if you like this, comment, share our live, you will receive, pay by me, a free reading from Michelle. I'm not doing the reading. I kind of I wrote it like it was like me giving, it was like me giving the reading. I'm like, wait a minute, let me clear that up for everybody. Michelle will be doing the reading. I'm just giving it to you guys as a gift for watching and sharing our live. So Michelle, let's just jump into this. I'm, like I said, excited. I've had a birth chart reading done. Kevin's had one, my daughter's had one, and we were so blown away. So kind of tell our listeners and viewers, you know, a little bit about you, how you got started, and, you know, we can just kind of jump into what, you know, what you're doing now.
Sure. Yeah. So I started astrology very young, younger than most. I was actually younger than middle school. So just to give you an idea, like, you know, probably like 6th grade, 5th grade. I learned about the signs and then I learned about rulership. So what a lot of people don't know about astrology is signs are not just personality traits. They actually rule certain parts of our lives. So for example, Pisces, it rules hospitals, prisons. You could go down the list for all signs. And so then in high school, it kind of clicked that you could put those things together to do interpretations based on what the planets are doing in the sky. So just that's a little about me, just kind of give you an idea of how long I've been studying astrology. So what is a birth chart? Because Angel has mentioned that she's gotten a birth chart reading done. A birth chart is basically a snapshot of what was going on with the planets in the sky the day that you were born. Everyone knows that they have a sun sign. In order to know your sun sign, you just need to know your birthday. That's why you always see people saying Sagittarius season, Gemini season, it's Taurus season. You just need to know your date of birth. A birth chart, you need your time of birth and your location of birth along with your birth date, so that a full birth chart can be generated. You have more than a sun sign. You have a Mars, you have a Jupiter, you have a Venus, you have all the planets, and you actually have all signs in your birth chart. So to put those things together, it can give you insight to your strengths, your weaknesses. You can even track transits in the sky as they go along your birth chart, to figure out when are the best times to do things, when should I schedule this job interview. You can use it for all of that. So
question for you, and I asked you this the first time, was the name of your business, Eighth House Siren. Mm-hmm. Explain that to people a little bit more. I know you're kind of talking about it, but if you could explain that.
It's a funny story. I always do that when people ask, because I honestly wasn't expecting to get any traction when I made an astrology account. When I started making astrology posts on Twitter, I was like, astrology is popular right now. People might actually care about astrology right now. I've been studying it forever. Why not post about it? So I made a post, and it was basically how to use other people's money to get what you want. And I jokingly said, you can be or read this post to become an eighth house siren, because the eighth house rules other people's money. And I did it as a joke. And then the post, kind of went viral. And so I was like, well, I guess this is the post. This is the one that's going to put me on the map. So let me just call myself Eighth House Siren. So that's where that comes from.
So one of our viewers, Melissa, my good friend, was like, that's so super cool. She's excited. And she said, so all the signs influence us. So every person is influenced by the signs. No matter if you like that sign or not.
I love telling people that. I'm like, oh, you don't like Geminis? Well, guess what? Guess what's in your fourth house? So just to elaborate on that, everyone has 12 houses. Now, some houses, depending on the house system you use, are bigger than others, but we all have 12 houses. Okay. And so there are 12 signs in the zodiac. And so each house has to have a sign in it. And it's not like when you were born at a certain point, like a sign just disappeared from the sky. All signs are always in the sky, therefore all signs are in your birth chart.
Interesting. I think it's funny you picked Pisces as the one. I think it's so fun to watch people do that on social media. Like you said, oh, it's Gemini season. Then you hear everybody, oh, they don't even realize, like you said, that there is part of that sign in who we are.
Yes. And, just to take things a step further, we do associate certain traits and certain signs rule certain things. You can look wherever that sign is in your chart to figure out how that kind of imprints on you. So for example, Aries, it rules the amount of energy that we have, or Mars. You can look at where Aries is in your chart, and that's probably the area in your life where you put forth the most energy, or Aries also rules agitation. Maybe it's an area in your life that you're experiencing more like friction, or maybe you're more aggressive in that area of your life. But again, every sign is in that chart, so you can't really hate a sign.
Oh, Melissa wants a chart. We got one. Yay. To your point, kind of tell everyone, I already know because I've had, I have two questions. I'm so excited, I have so many questions. The first question, can you, and this is just curiosity, can you layer charts?
Yes. So what you're talking about,
and your boyfriend or fiance, like, can you layer them and see where that does anything?
you can absolutely do a chart on compatibility. And what you would do, well, in case anyone wants to have a look at their chart, you can go to astro.com. But yeah, you can overlap two charts and you can see how your planets are kind of interacting with each other, your natal planets. So absolutely, you can use astrology for compatibility. And a lot of astrologers, they specialize in compatibility only. So that just kind of lets you know that it's an industry within itself in the astrology community.
So with these birth chart readings, what are, like, when you do one for somebody, what do you focus on? Like, what can it tell someone?
I always focus on the concrete information. Before I even start the reading, I always ask my clients, like, what do you actually want to know? So that I'm not giving you a whole bunch of information that you don't really care about. But I focus, I do little kind of snippets of your personality in there. But like, you know, we had this conversation earlier. People don't really need to be told about themselves. They need to, so most of the time they need direction. How can I use my strengths and weaknesses to get myself to where I want to be? So I include, sometimes I'll include like the optimum times to do something. If you get in a career reading, I include like best dates for interviews. I'll include like, you know, advice for career path, or like, how can you have this hobby? This is how you can monetize your hobby if you want to. So just concrete information that you can use, not just personality.
I'll share with you. So I had mine done. It was great. And Kevin had his. So I bought one for my daughter, and my daughter's birthday is on Christmas, and she's always struggled with her birthday being on Christmas. So I surprised her with a reading. She didn't read it right away because I think she had to mentally get ready. And I kid you not, she called me bawling her eyes out. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? And she's like, Mom, did you read my, I was like, no, I didn't read it. It's yours. I gave it to you. And she's like, I now know everything I need to know about my life, because all of this made so much sense to her at that time that, you know, she was, and even me, everything I read was just perfect and it makes sense. And it's interesting too, because it goes by your birth date. So obviously it knows how old you are, and where, you know, for instance, if you talk about marriage and things, some people are going to get married older and younger. And it's just very interesting how, because the stars were and everything was aligned at that time, this is where you are now on your journey. And how you read them, it just makes so much sense. For those of you who are watching, if you have any questions for Michelle, I didn't say it earlier, but feel free to drop them in. She'll, you know, loves questions. Obviously, she's really happy about what she does and everything. So oh, someone lost sound. I hope that wasn't everyone. If you guys can hear us, still give us a thumbs up. I know Melissa lost sound for some reason, but who knows anymore with these Facebook Lives. They have their own life. So some of the things, and you know, you and I talked about this too, that some people kind of have questions about astrology. And, you know, talk to us about some of the questions you've received. You know, people are wary about it.
Yeah, I get a lot of compatibility questions, and I get a lot of kind of like goal focused questions. So I'll first touch on the compatibility. A lot of people will be like, oh, like, I'm a Taurus. Does that mean I shouldn't date an Aquarius? I will never, ever, ever tell someone that they should not date someone because of their sun sign or their signs in general or their birth chart. I will tell them what the roadblocks will be and how they can work past them. So I, just as a rule of thumb in astrology, don't ever let an astrologer tell you that you can't do something because of a placement that you have in your birth chart. You can. An astrologer's job is not to tell people what they can and can't do. It's to tell people how to utilize what they have to push past the barriers that they might encounter in their life, and kind of problem solve, help the person problem solve. But I never tell people they can't do something. And then that kind of ties into when people ask me questions about their goals. Like, they'll say, oh, my birth chart doesn't indicate that I'm supposed to be in the limelight. I want to be a performer, but my birth chart says I'm meant to be in the behind the scenes. It's kind of like, okay, let's figure out how we can push past those barriers that are in your birth chart, to make you the performer that you want to be.
What about, and I'm going to kind of tell on myself, but I've been inundated with Netflix lately and watching the whole Scientology thing with Leah Remini, and it's like a train wreck I have to keep watching. Do people talk to you? How do they approach you when they say, oh, is it a religion or what? Do you get that?
I get a lot of that too. Okay, so astrology is not a religion. It's more like, I would compare it to economics more than anything else. So the origin story of astrology. It's been practiced for so many years, and basically all it is studying patterns and making plans based on patterns that you see repeatedly. So it's like, for thousands of years, people recorded like certain events that corresponded with what the planets were doing in the sky. And so eventually, when they saw the pattern enough times, they were able to associate that type of event with that type of aspect or planetary aspect. So through all of that studying, that's how you kind of come with chart interpretation and things like that. Nowhere in there is it religion. It's, you can have a relationship with God and also practice astrology. Like they don't cross paths.
I love that explanation. I'm going to try to use it from my mother. I don't know if it's going to work, but I will try it. Also, to your point, I like how you mentioned like charting things and just watching things. There's been a lot, at least on my social media, about like the moon placement. And I have PMS, or I've been short with my significant other because the moon is doing this. So how does that fall into what you do and what you've seen?
It's interesting that so many people have kind of gotten into like moon tracking, because the moon is one of the easiest luminaries or planets. There's both luminaries and planets in your birth chart, but it's the easiest one to track because it goes through every sign every month. So it goes through all 12 signs in the zodiac every single month. So it's easy to track, like, oh, the moon is in Leo. How, like, what do I feel like doing when the moon is in Leo? The moon also has a very easy type of rulership. The moon rules our habits and our emotions and our relationship with the public. And that's such an easy thing to observe about yourself. Like, how do I feel today? Where's the moon today? You know what I mean? It's a really good luminary to use if you're trying to develop habits, because like I said, since it passes through every single planet every month, you could like schedule, like, for example, Capricorn, it rules like business and like work, things like that. So it's like, oh, you have business meetings you have to get done every month, schedule it when the moon is in Capricorn. Like, it's just easy. It helps you develop habits or things that you want to keep doing.
Better attention to that, because I want to be in good moods when I have important meetings and things like that. I notice for sure, like full moons and me, we just don't. We don't do well. I think that's because of the sun sign. Maybe. I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm far from.
You said when the moon is in your sun sign?
When it's a full moon.
Gotcha.
It's rough on me, but
a full something like that, like especially if you have like a special moon, like a full moon or something like that, and it's in the sign where your sun is, it's going to illuminate like the traits of your sun sign, which can be overwhelming. Like, it's going to heighten whatever you have going on in your sun. So maybe that is what you're feeling.
I literally could talk to you and ask so many questions. It's like, it just keeps questions popping up. I know you are working on building your brand for the future? Like, what does the future have for you and your brand? And, you know, what are the things you're working on?
Well, I have the YouTube channel where I teach astrology 101 lessons. It's kind of evolved into like astrology chit chats or like hot topics in astrology, things like that. But I want to eventually offer classes for astrology with various topics so that we can spend more time on each one. I feel like YouTube, you can't really, it's hard to make it a class format because like people will have the YouTube playing like while they're doing their hair, when they're washing dishes, and things like that. And I want to create more of a community, and I want to develop more relationships with the people who are learning from me. So I definitely want to start offering classes. I want to write astrology books eventually. But like you said, I want to develop that community first so that, you know, I'll have my target audience. A lot of time my YouTube videos are based on like what people want to know, like, you know, Instagram comments like, oh, can you talk about aspects? Can you talk about Aries moons? Like, you know what I mean? So it really helps to have that community to bounce that energy off of.
We had a question come in while you were telling us. So, and this is me too. I'm a Cancer Leo cusp. And one of my friends says, so how do cusps work, or what information can you give us about those?
I'm glad you asked because this is a common misconception. Cusps do not exist, and I will explain why. A standard natal chart wheel has 30 degrees of each sign. The whole chart is it 360 degrees, a circle. So when you have degrees, each of your placements has a degree. So your sun is like anywhere between 1 and 30 degrees. So it's either in one sign or the other. It's either in between 1 and 30 of Sagittarius, 130 of the sign after that, 130 in the sign after that. It's not in the middle of 2 degrees. There's no such thing as 2.5 degrees Sagittarius. I hope that I explained that in a way that you can understand. But because signs, your placements are in degrees, there's no partial degrees. So you're either one sign or the other.
So when you hear about, oh, well, I have this Cancer trait because I'm closer to Cancer, that's just not true.
The thing is, I will say, if you're a Cancer sun, Mercury and the sun are always close together. So you're 9 times out of 10, you're the sign after Cancer. So you might be a Leo, Mercury, you know what I mean? So that would play a role in your personality. But like, sorry, yeah, you're only a Cancer sign.
So that was all advertising and marketing to get people to, what was it like a couple years ago when everything shifted and they're like, oh, now you're not this sign anymore if you were close? And I was like, what? All my life I've been a Leo and now you're trying to tell me? I'm like, no, all my traits, I'm a Leo. Don't even try it.
No one can ever take away your signs or your placements because, again, your birth chart is a snapshot of the sky when you were born. So, you know, just because they have discovered this new sign doesn't mean that your existing birth chart all of a sudden changing.
That's great because it did freak me out for a while, and I started doing research. I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm just going to stick with my guns and what I've grown up with because I do. You know, everything I've learned about my Leo and it is true for me. So, you know, I appreciate you, you know, kind of giving that information. For those of you watching, like, comment, share this. You're going to get entered to receive a reading from Michelle, purchased by me. Once again, not by me. Don't worry. I'm not even gonna try, especially now that I probably would have said you were a cusp of something. So wouldn't even worry about that. Michelle, give everyone your YouTube. I mean, I will obviously put it down, but go ahead and give everybody how they can see what you're doing and reach out to you and see all the cool stuff that you're giving out to the community.
So I am the 8th house siren on all platforms. So Twitter, Instagram. I have a 8th House Siren Facebook page. If you would like to, I'm working on a website, but for now, if you would like to book a reading, email lemmyreadyobirthchart@gmail.com. When this live is over, I can comment that email in the comments so that you'll have it.
Yeah, I'll definitely. I mean, there's a lot of people watching. I see a lot of people coming in and out, and I know it's going to be, you're going to get inundated. So I hope you have some time to get ready and do this. I'm, so happy to share the information with you. I hope you come on again, because I feel that when people start getting their readings, there's going to be maybe more questions and more excitement. And we have one final question running in really quick. Does your moon sign ever take over your sun sign?
It depends on how much more. So if you have a Sagittarius sun and you have a Leo moon, I would first figure out what house that moon is in, because if your sun is in the first house, a very dominant house when it comes to your personality, and your moon is somewhere in like the 12th house or the 8th house, that's one of the houses that are a little bit more secretive and kind of introspective, then your personality is going to more so show your sun. So that all depends on houses. And again, if you want to look at your birth chart, go to astro.com and put in your birth information, and that'll let you know.
Well, we did cover a lot of information in this. It like flew by 30 minutes.
It does not feel like 30 minutes.
That's what's so great, because when you start talking and people, it's just really fun to do these Facebook Lives. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you might want to touch on that's important? Or, I do have one more question.
Yeah.
Has there been, so all the readings you've done, I'm sure you've done a lot and a lot of awesome people and things. And I know that stuff is personal and you can't give out any of the information, but what have you seen have been some of the helpful things that you've been able to, give information for people, whoever they are, that they're like, oh yes, I needed to know this, and you were able to give them that information?
The very first thing that comes to mind is definitely dates or time frames. I love to include time frames in my readings, because a lot of time people have all of these goals and all of these just things that they want to do, but they don't know the optimum time to do it, or they're unsure. So I love it when I'm able to kind of like map out time frames for people. And then I love it when I do that and then they message me back and say, hey, like I did this time and it worked. Yep. Thanks. So I like that. I like when I've had a lot of readings where people feel as though they know their purpose, but they are not like living in their purpose, and they have barriers and they don't know how to push those barriers down so they can focus on their purpose. So like I'll kind of map out like a game plan for them based on their birth chart. I call that living out your chart. So it kind of helps them push past like those pre-existing barriers. A lot of times you can see those barriers in the birth chart, and they can focus on their true purpose. Normally you can look at where your sun is and where what's called the North Node is to find your true purpose. So I love helping people like dig through all of the clutter and finding that purpose and like getting there. And that's another thing I get follow-up messages about. I love when people are like, oh, like, we worked together to do this, and guess what? It worked. So it's very rewarding.
Yeah, I know. Like, even with my wellness stuff, I can only imagine how rewarding it is when you hear that something that you have a gift for has helped others, and it's just that feeling is amazing. So I can definitely understand how you feel. Everybody who's watching, once again, like, comment, share this. You'll get entered to win a birth chart reading. If this is already ended and you have more questions for Michelle or for me, drop them in here, shoot them to her. We'll definitely be open. If we get a lot of the same questions or a lot of the same, oh, I wish you would have went in more in depth here or there, I'll have Michelle back on and we'll definitely dig deeper, because this Facebook Live is just really doing really well. So I'm so happy to see so many people are interested in this, because You know, wellness, as I say all the time, is just not about your health. It's just about your mental wellness, your financial wellness. It's just so many facets. And that's why Live Well Wednesday is so dear to me, because I like to bring everybody together to talk about wellness. And next week, as we wrap this up, I'm going to have my friend Deata Harris, who is a fitness guru. She has a huge following and all of her fitness things. I have all her information on there. Not sure what topics we're going to talk about because there are so many fitness topics, but I'm going to put something out for you guys. You know, if you want to, if there's some topics you want her to talk about, she's deep into everything. So I'm looking forward to having her on next week and drawing to see who's going to win. If we get a lot of entries, I don't know, we might have to do 2 drawings just because so many people, so many people want to do this. I'm like blown away and excited, you know, all together. And Michelle, this is going to help build your brand and your community, because now these people, you know, get a little bit more information into something they may have had, you know, a little clue about, but not as much
Absolutely.
as before.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is exciting for me too. And I love this. I love that there's a space like every single week that you do, and you're bringing on different types of people. This is awesome. So keep up the great work, Angel. And thank you for letting me be a part of this awesome community.
Yes, thank you. So once again, it's 8th House Siren, and we will put all the contact information on the bottom. If you miss it, if you need anything, reach out to me and I will get you in touch with Michelle. Michelle, have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much again for joining us. And I, right now, mark my word, we will have you back on. So you can hold me to it.
I'm excited. Thanks,
All right,
Angel. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye-bye.